Good morning dear students. Welcome to the online video classes. Today we are going to study history and civics and next part of the chapter, A Changing Time. So dear students, today we will cover these points in our video class. Imperialism, causes of imperialism, impact of imperialism, sources to study the modern period. Let's start with imperialism. Imperialism. Dear students, when we will study about imperialism, we will find that imperialism was considered as having originated from economic problems in Europe that were characteristic of the late 19th century. In particular, the need to guarantee the flow of raw materials to the industrialized countries and the protection of the overseas markets for the sale of their industrial products. In other words, we can say imperialism is a policy or ideology of extending the rule or authority of a country over the other country's peoples, often by military force or by gaining political economical control, such as a powerful country makes small poor country its colony. In this sense, imperialism is not a form of a government of a state headed by an emperor. Expansionism, centralization has been persuaded throughout recorded history. The earliest examples dating from the mid-3rd millennium BC, though only in the modern times, the distinct form and concept of imperialism developed closely associated with many European powers towards the 20th century and new imperialism. Since then the concept has been used and developed further in a broad way to identify as well as criticize a range of policies and states, even occasionally anti-imperialist states. Colonialism is a typical expansionist element of imperialism, but does not need to be a part of a particular case of imperialism. Now we will study about the causes for the rise of imperialism. Dear students, when we will study the chapter, we will find the following causes for the rise of imperialism. First is Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution in European countries resulted in a great increase in production. They could not find market in Europe as they followed protective trade policy. The purchasing power of the people was also low due to capitalism. It also introduced a great progress in the means of transport and communication. The telegraph system linked the world and reduced the great distances. The development on railways speeded up the movement of the goods between colonies and other mother country. So it was easier to bring raw materials and to take the finished goods to the markets in the interior parts of the colonies in Asia and Africa. Now next is national security. National security. The sense of national security and self-sufficiency among the European political groups instigated colonial imperialism. The presidents or prime ministers worked towards the colonial imperialism owing to the influence of business or some other interest. Now we will take the third point, nationalism. The latter part of the 19th century saw extreme nationalistic ideals in Europe. Many nations developed pride over their race, culture and language, started feeling superior to other countries. They felt that acquisition of colonies would enhance the prestige of their nation. Imperialism became the fashion of the age. The man or the Europeans felt that it was white man's burden to civilize the backward and uncivilized native people of African and Asia. Now fourth is balance of power. The concept of power was one of driving factors. European nations were forced to acquire new colonies to achieve balance with their neighbor and competitors. Now fifth is discovery of new routes, which is given in diagram as new routes. The discovery of new routes of African and Asian countries promoted the spirit of imperialism. The discovery of sea routes paved the way for the traders and soldiers to exploit and the abundant wealth of the countries. Growth of population. The sixth point. The population growth which resulted in unemployment and forced the Europeans to immigrate in search of new lands and careers abroad. The seventh and last point is state of anarchy. There was no international organization to enact and enforce laws for the nations to maintain peace and security among countries before the First World War. This state of anarchy supported the colonial race. Now we will study about the impact of imperialism. The impact of imperialism, if we will study about this, we will find easily. First is trading companies. Many trading companies were formed in Europe with trade in India and other parts of Asia. These trading companies, which mainly belong to Portugal, Holland, Britain and France, established their trading centers in different parts of India. Most of these were centers in the coastal areas where they were used as warehouses of trading goods. These factories were you can say a center between the powerful country and the company where they have their colonies. It was like the center of their trade. Now second point is limited activities. Limited activities means as long as Mughals ruled in the country, the companies limited their activities, such as they had started controlling the activities of Mughal rulers of that time. Now exploitation. Exploitation means here exploitation of resources. The European imperialist power exploited the resource of their colonies on a large scale. The local industries and trade declined due to their oppressive policies. What they were doing, they were taking raw materials from the countries, those who were colonies of them, and making the goods from that, and they were supplying it to their own country. That was totally exploitation of the resources of the colonies. Now we will study about sources to study the modern period. If we will study, or we will divide the study of the modern period and its sources, we can divide it into two parts: primary sources and archaeological sources. Primary sources are having some points in itself, such as original documents, newspaper, magazines, letters, printed books, film photographs and videotapes, maps and secondary sources. Original documents are the documents which were used by officials, government officials, for other significant resources of historical information. Now, newspapers and magazine letters, news articles, letters and magazines belonging to this period are also kept in the libraries and archives. They were printed in different languages in different regions of the country. These types of primary resources or sources are very valuable for the study of the modern period. Film and photographs and videotapes. Film and picture portray the lives of the famous peoples and events. These movies are available over the internet and are known as digital archives. These types of resources can create the imaginary pictures, or you can say a lively picture in front of the person who wants to get the knowledge about the modern period. Now, maps and secondary resources. Secondary resources are the resources. It has some reports, reviews, articles and printed books based on the primary sources, such as Indologists James Mills, Max Muller, Vincent Smith took an keen interest in Indian culture and examined many ancient Indian texts. Through these texts, they had tried to understand the Indian tradition, custom and norms that would help them rule efficiently. These colonial writers projected the view that India was a backward country and the British rule was blessing in disguise of India. The Indian people's grievance against the British rule were reflected in many writings, such as Neel Darpan by Deenbandhu Mitra. Now, we will see about the archaeological resources, including buildings, monuments. The building is spread across the country, such as the Gateway of India, India Gate, Parliament House, Rashtrapati Bhavan and other such buildings. They also include coin, paintings, weapons used in this period. These are archaeological sources of information or sources to the study of modern period. So my dear students, today we have covered these topics in our video class. Imperialism, causes for the rise of imperialism, impact of imperialism, sources of the study of the modern period. In our next video class, we will cover or we will start the book exercise and question answer work of this chapter. Till then, have a nice day and thank you.